On September 3rd, 2022, 26-year-old Colby Ryan, who is the son of Vallow Daybell, was arrested on SA charges in Arizona. It was a week before Colby's sister Tylee Ryan's third anniversary of her death. Tylee was gruesomely killed in 2019 and found in Chad Daybell's backyard. And a few weeks later, that's when Colby's little brother JJ was also killed and buried in Chad's backyard. So here's what went down with Colby. According to court documents, Colby and his wife Kelsey have been separated for the last little bit. And on August 31st, Colby went over to Kelsey's to watch TV with her. Things escalated from there, and according to reports, it said that she told Colby that, stop, this isn't a good idea, and also I do not want to do this. But he did not take no for an answer, according to this report, and she told him multiple times to stop. She said in the document that Colby pressured her to have sex before she told him to stop. After this all went down, she told Colby that this was not okay and that she needs some space. He said sorry and started to cry. She then goes to her bedroom and she locked the door. The document states, the victim went into her bedroom and locked the door while the defendant slept on the couch. Now, according to Justin Lum from Fox News, who's been following this case from the beginning, he said that the details in the document were graphic. He said, I've obtained the probable cause document and the details are graphic. Mesa PD arrested Colby Ryan on September 3rd after his wife called police on September 2nd about an incident that happened 2 days prior. The couple had been separated for a month, living in 2 different places. Now, let's talk a little bit about this below in the comments. Let me know what you think. Knowing these charges, it's interesting that he was still allowed to stay, even though they're staying in 2 separate places, and sleep on the couch. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think below. However, she did lock the door, but I'm curious at your thoughts. That happened on August 31st, and then the next day on September 1st, that's when she recorded a conversation with Colby, and he agreed and admitted to the SA. By September 2nd, which is 2 days after this alleged crime, it was reported to police, and she had an SA kit done by a nurse, and it was said that her clothing was tested for DNA. Reports also say that when Colby was questioned by the authorities, he made verbal admissions of what he did. On September 3rd, Colby was arrested on 2 counts of domestic violence SA, and he's being held at the Maricopa County Jail. Now, he went in front of a judge that same day, and here's what happened.
Sir, tell me your full name. Colby Jordan Ryan. Mr. Ryan, you owe these officers a debt of thanks. Yeah. These types of charges, if we don't clear the gallery, can cause some problems that they're known to the general public population in here. Okay. It's imperative you don't let anybody see the paperwork that we're going to hand you tonight, except your attorney. You don't talk to anybody but your attorney about these charges, because we worry about your safety. Will you do that for me? Yes, sir. Sir, 2 counts of sexual assault, both Class 2 felonies. I've appointed you an attorney. Your next hearing out in Mesa, 222 East Abilene, is the 9th and the 13th of December. Strike that, 13th of the 9th and the 13th of September, not December. A bond is set in the amount of $10,000 cash only. If you do make bond, you'll be released to pretrial services, electronic monitoring. Do not initiate contact with the alleged victim. Do not make contact with the arresting officers. Do not possess any drugs without a valid prescription. Do not drive a motor vehicle without a valid license. Good luck in Mesa on the 9th, sir. Thank you, sir.
So the judge said, Mr. Ryan, you owe these officers a debt of thanks. These type of charges, if we don't clear the gallery, can cause problems if they're known to the general population. He also talked to Colby about receiving the court documents, and he said, don't talk to anybody about these charges because we worry about your safety. Colby's being held on $10,000 bond. Once and if he makes bail, the judge said he'll have to have an electronic monitor, and he's not to contact the victim, who is the mother of his 2 children, as a reminder. Now, when I look up a Class 2 felony in Arizona, it says Class 2 felony is up to 14 years in prison. If the defendant has a prior felony SA conviction, up to 21 years in prison. If 2 or more convictions, up to 28 years in prison. Now, let's chat about this back to Colby and his wife. And as I said, he has 2 daughters. Obviously, the repercussions are huge from these actions. Not only is there a no contact in place, but now Colby faces being on the offenders list. And he has jeopardized his whole entire life pretty much, and not only affected his life, he affected his wife's life and also his 2 little girls' lives. Now let's go back to Kelsey for a minute. No means no, regardless if she is his wife or not. No is no. And we've seen Kelsey by Colby's side throughout this entire circus brought on by Lori and Chad Daybell and others. So obviously this isn't something to take lightly, and this is huge to report it to authorities. That's a huge step, and it takes a lot of bravery and courage to report these things, and a lot of women do not. Now, I'm not sure what happened to cause these two to split up. It took her 2 days to report it. So it doesn't seem to me like this was taken lightly and this was just a rash decision and go and report them. What are your thoughts? Let me know below. And so now let's just rewind a little bit and connect some dots. I did some digging. There were accusations against Colby right back from 2007. And that was by Charles Vallow's ex-wife, Cheryl Wheeler. Cheryl and Charles share 2 sons. There were also allegations at this time from Lori against one of Charles and Cheryl's sons. And in those documents, it mentions Colby. Here's what it says, dated April 2007. For the past 10 months, Lori Vallow, my son's stepmother, has been embroiled in a bitter custody battle with her ex-husband, Mr. Joseph Ryan, including scathing allegations of SA. The custody litigation has revealed that Miss Vallow's son, Colby, was SA'd by Mr. Ryan. In this ongoing litigation, Mr. Tom Ware, a guardian ad litem, has been appointed to look after the interests of the children. Mr. Ware, having heard the evidence and allegations of the parties, has now suggested to the court that both Lori Vallow and her son Colby undergo psychosexual evaluations. Joseph Ryan was Lori's 3rd husband. He is Tylee's biological father and was Colby's stepdad. Joe Ryan's lawyer said this about Lori and the situation and the battle of custody. He says, she's a mean person. She just didn't want him to see his kid. The way I recall it, the court was erring on the side of caution and there was no evidence whatsoever that Joe had done anything. Lori accused Joe of abusing both Tylee and Colby. The lawyer said they took his bed, they took his clothes, they took everything out of the room, and they were trying to find DNA and they didn't find anything after an extensive forensic analysis, so they never even charged him. Joe Ryan died of an apparent heart attack in April of 2018. That's a whole other video. Lori knew he died and she didn't bother to tell Joe's sister Annie Cushing. We've seen Annie on her own channel and also on my channel. And Lori did not bother to tell them, even though Annie had a relationship with Lori and Tylee. But Lori kept that knowledge of Joe's death to herself, just like she kept the knowledge to herself about the details of Charles' death from Charles' 2 sons. And when Joe died, that was before Lori even met Chad Daybell, so we can't blame Lori's actions all on Mr. Chad Daybell. Lori was, in my opinion, conniving and manipulative for years and years and years. Now let's go back to the document. It says, whether it is because Colby has been a victim of SA or deviant proclivity, I cannot say. However, my sons have made several allegations of SA at the hands of their stepbrother Colby while at the Vallow house. It also says that this info was shared with a therapist. It says, my son has stated that Colby often makes comments of a sexually graphic nature towards him. For example, when I asked the boys if there had been any inappropriate touching at the hands of Colby or anyone at the Vallow house, he responded, Colby shows me his private parts, and when I ask him to stop, he won't. I'm afraid of him. The boys also revealed that Colby witnesses Charles and Lori Vallow engaging in sexual relations. Colby has left questionable telephone messages for one of the sons saying, I miss the things we do at night. One of the sons said he has admitted to me that Colby is sexual with him and his brother because of what Joe did to him. Further, I found a provocative photo of Colby's little sister Tylee sent to one of the sons' cell phone. Each of these incidents are incredibly disturbing and make me fear for the safety and emotional development of my sons. Their father is aware of the SA allegations by his sons against his stepson, and that Colby has been ordered to undergo psychosexual testing and has taken no precautions to protect his sons or even investigate the allegations. I feel the Vallow household is unstable and a dangerous place for my children. Now, there was an interview on Dateline with Colby Ryan, and he talks about Joe. He said, he went out of his way to make a point when he would spank me, and then he just did weird things like little hits in the head, like he thought it was funny. So there's a lot of stuff with that. And then he was abusive as well. He goes on in this interview to talk about that he tried to keep this secret from Lori until he just couldn't anymore. This is what Keith Morrison reiterates on Dateline, and it said it must have upset Lori a lot. But Colby says, yeah, she was. I remember how devastated she was. I can't imagine that feeling, and that's why I didn't want to tell her in the beginning, because it was more just, I don't even know what it is. I don't know what to say. Now, experts have suggested that maybe Lori perhaps groomed the children, and we don't know, obviously, if it did happen, if it didn't happen. Colby said it did. I'm not saying either way, but just know that it has been questioned by experts, and we don't know the full story. Let me know your thoughts below. Now, Colby has a YouTube channel. He's been doing it for quite some time. And in it, there was a video from July that he made. It was called The Morning Show. I'll leave that in the description box below. He talked about his wife on there, and presumably before they separated. But here's what he said in one little clip. I feel like Kelsey and I's marriage did like a 180, and it's been beautiful because our marriage is something that I've always treasured, and I think that in the day-to-day life you can kind of start to get caught up in just being a parent, doing your life, doing everything, and you kind of lose sight of how important each day is, so that's another thing. I know I preach this a lot to you guys, I say this a lot in our videos, and it's just never going to change though. We wake up today, we have new grace, so that new grace means that today is totally a new day in God's eyes. You have a new day to completely change your actions, a day of repentance, a day to come to Him. And then he goes on talking about a little bit about America's Got Talent, but he says how Simon says, you know, you have 3 minutes, these 3 minutes can change your life. He says, with God, it's the same exact point. Like a few minutes, a few hours, a day can change your life with God. And we're in a time right now, guys, where it's not ever certain. It never has been certain, but we're in an even more uncertain time where we don't know what's coming next, but we have to be prepared. So what the heck happened? From that video in July until they split up, and then from there to this August 31st night. Now his entire course, Kelsey's entire course of life and the children is changed forever. But Colby isn't just getting the spotlight over this. Next week on September 14th, there's a Netflix special called Sins of Our Mother, and it's a 3-part series, and Colby is basically the spotlight in this show, and it talks about how Colby confronts Lori in jail about the murders of his siblings, Tylee and JJ. Colby was supposed to be in court today, September 9th, the day of the recording, but it has been vacated, and now he's going to be in court September 13th, a day before that special. So stay tuned for what happens there. What do you think about this? What do you think the punishment will be? I'm curious to know your thoughts. If you want to see another video I have about Colby and Lori, check it out right here. It's about how Lori gave a car to Colby, but it was for a reason, and it's interesting what the authorities found. Check it out right there. You can check out my playlist with over 150 videos on the case, or also you can see a playlist of the most important ones in the Daybell case. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please like, don't forget to share. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.